Okay, Shalom Aleichem. Our topic for tonight is mother and wife with this when the mother and wife have the same name, and we're going to be learning inside a tshuva, a responsum of Rav Kook, Ezrat Cohen, uh, Zion. Now, just a little bit about this, the background of this particular topic. Um, if you see the diagram on the screen, so there's a mother named Sarah whose son marries a woman named Sarah. That would be the situation that we're speaking about. Now, with uh, with the laws, the biblical laws and the rabbinic laws, um, there's nothing about the names of of the woman or man that is being married that that has any impact. Meaning, in general, the Torah's prohibitions are are connected with relationships. Uh, if it's an incestual relationship, or if somebody is already married, so it's a prohibited relationship, or somebody who is connected with the particular sanctity, let's say a Kohen, uh, so has is limited on who he can marry. Those are the things that are relevant on a biblical and on a rabbinic level. Um, there are rabbinic prohibitions of arayas. There's sometimes prohibitions based on what people the person comes from, a Mitzri Sheni, uh, etc. Those kind of things. However, here this seems to be something like, so to speak, extra halachic. Where does it come from? So one of the Baalei Tosfos was Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid, and Kishmo Kenhu. He was the author of a very important and influential work called Sefer Hasidim, uh, which includes, in the beginning of the book Sefer Hasidim, it includes Tzavas Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid, Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid, Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid's will. Now, will, we're used to being we're used to thinking about how a person divides his assets for his descendants, those kind of things. But there is a whole tradition of ethical wills, which involves the messages that a person wants to leave to the next generation, things that he wants to be followed. But here is something that involves, Rabbi Yehuda Chassid involves things that he said either to do or not to do. So there's there's things like in the Tzava of Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, which includes in my edition 56 items, uh, and it has it has things that that seem to be, uh, I won't say irrational, but things that have to seem to have a mystical side to it. Um, a person shouldn't get a haircut on Rosh Chodesh. Uh, uh, a if an if a tree bears fruit twice in a year, uh, it should be cut and not allowed to stand. Like, there's um, things that are seem to be extra halachic. Now, some of the things are halachic. Some of the things are halachic, or some things are chumras, or things, musari things. But here is the following: Chaf Gimel is lo yisa adam isha sheshma kashem imo. A person should not marry somebody whose name is like the name of his mother. So that would be this fellow marrying Sarah, and his mother's name is Sarah. O shmo kashem chamiv, or that his name, the father's name, is the same as his father-in-law. So that would be, let's say, on our picture here, if this fellow here was named Moshe and his wife's father was also Moshe, that would be a similar explanation example of something that is against the Tzavas Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. But it includes the following thing: Ve'im nisa'a, if he did marry her, yeshaneh shema echad ulai yesh tikva. He should They should change one of the names. Maybe there's hope. That's the formulation. Now, um, the this particular issue uh, uh, probably gets a little more mileage than some of the other issues that are connected with Rabbi Yehuda Chassid's tzava. First of all, the Arizal uh, is quoted as endorsing this. Uh, it seems to have an issue of something bad is going to happen. Change the name, maybe there's hope. Um, so that's probably why there's a lot of consciousness about this particular thing. Now, what I would like to do is see Rav Kook's tshuva on this. Um, just a minute. Let me just get the tshuva. Just a moment. Actually, wait, let's do it in the. I'll pull it up here. Um, just a moment. Okay, here we are. Sorry about the delay. Okay, here's the tshuva of Rav Kook. Um, I'll just make it a little wider. Here we are. Now, I would like to read it inside. He mentions one, two, three, 4 points that are all significant, and I want to read it through from beginning to end because uh, each one brings a very, I think, important thing to the discussion. Now, um, Bezrat Hashem, Era Kodesh Yerushalayim, Tikanim V'Tibanein, Tedvav Tammuz, Tafresh Tzadi. Tafresh Tzadi is 1930. This is a late shuva of Rav Kook. לכבוד ידידי הרב המאור הגדול, נחמד ומפואר במידותיו התרומיות, who has wonderful character. His special, unique character traits are exemplary. Moreno Rav Shlomo Altshuler Shlita. Fine. Shlomo Baracha Ba'ava Rabba. with peace and blessing, with great love. Here we go. Now, the first thing he discusses is following what the poskim say with regards to this issue. בתשובה למכתבו היקר אשר דרש לשאול בדבר שידוך ששם הכלה ואם החתן שווה. The name of the kala and the name of the mother of the chassan are the same. הנה, הביא כבר חלק מהנאמר בזה, אצל גדולי האחרונים, המצד הקל. You brought a number of in your question, you brought a number of the leniencies that appear in the works of the Achronim. Uveshina shem achat me'am lifnei hashidduch. And if you change the name of one of them before the shidduch, kamo lohosif shem achad al achat mehena o lishanot ikar hashem, either to add a name or to change the name itself, kamo likrot baskama achat b'shem Hana o Anna. Somebody's name is Chana, and one of them you decide to call Anna or Hannah, which are nicknames for Chana. Again, it could be a translation into another language, but still it's not identical. It is clear, obvious to be lenient. Now, leman de lo kapid, that's a reference. What's the thing? There's a long Gemara in Masachet Pesachim about zugot, which is about pairs. And I remember when I was in the beginning of being involved in teaching, so there was a group of us, older guys in the yeshiva, who were teaching the first year guys where it was, and we were all teaching Pesachim, Arvei Pesachim at night. And we all decided that we're going to teach all the sugyas in Arvei Pesachim that deal with all the spooky kinds of things, like doing things in doubles and mazikin and shadim and all those kinds of things. We're not skipping any Gemaras. So there's a line in that Gemara, and that's what Rav Kook is referencing here. Somebody who's not makpid on them, meaning somebody who's not particular about this whole thing. He's not antsy. He's not anxious about all these sort of spiritual kokos. So then those things are not particular with him. Meaning, if he's not anxious about them, they're not going to have any issues with him. Which is sort of, don't bother me, I won't bother you. Sorry, don't be bothered by me, and I won't bother you. Now, I don't know, when I was in college, so it was 1981, 82. New York had still, like where we were in New York in college then, was sort of a rough area. And one of the things that they taught us to do is walk on the street in a way where you don't view yourself as a target for somebody to take advantage of or to hurt. So similarly with these spiritual mazikin, these spiritual negative kohos, don't make yourself, if you're not worried about them, they're not going to be worried about you. Right, very nice. Have a look at Ariel's comment. Now, now here we go. It seems to me, with regards to these kinds of things, that are where the whole particularity, the whole worry, the whole issue is one of mazel, meaning there's some bad luck or some negative spiritual kochos. Yesh makom gadol lehakel be'eretz Yisrael yoter michutz la'aretz. There's place to be lenient in Eretz Yisrael as opposed to chutz la'aretz. Shehi eretz asher Hashem Elokecha doresh ota. It's a place with special hashgacha, as the pasuk says. Hashem, your God, seeks out that land. Umufkas mishlitas mazalos legamre, and it is totally detached from the control of all sorts of mazalot, of all sorts of of now mazalot is constellations, and it also refers to some kind of uh, in its simple understanding, it's some kind of astrological power. Now, it could be that this is extending it also to all sorts of negative spiritual powers. But in a place like Eretz Yisrael, where the hashgacha is more direct, so then you're not subject to all these kinds of things. So, so that's a bombshell. This line in Rav Kook's tshuva, I feel was a very special and unique thing. And I was going through the footnotes. Rav Reuven Margolius has an edition of Sefer Hasidim with long and extremely thoroughly seemingly thoroughly researched uh, footnotes, and he does not mention this particular issue of maybe in Eretz Yisrael there's room to be makel. I did not see it. Again, it could be that I was missing something, but as far as I did not see this, this Ezrat Cohen might have come out afterwards, might have been collected afterwards, and it wasn't something that uh, he was aware of. But um, that's a very, I think that's a very important piece of the puzzle here. Uh, ונראה שמטעם זה אין נוהגים כאן להיזהר במה שכתוב מפורש בשולחן ערוך יורדי הסימן קע"ט שאין נושאים נשים אלא במילוי הלבנה, שהוא מטעם מזל, that getting married in the first half of the month. So in Eretz Yisrael, people aren't makbid on this thing, and that's got to do also with mazel. But in Eretz Yisrael, that there's no particularity about this issue in Eretz Yisrael. Um, and it says wonderful things about hashgacha in Eretz Yisrael in the Zohar. The choman de zachile ingada mitala de shamaya de laela the Nachis al Ara, uh, there's this metaphorically heavenly dew coming down in Eretz Yisrael. Kolomar mazal ha'elyon midi Hashem yisbrach. The higher mazel, which here probably means the special hashgacha uh, of Hashem yisbrach directly. V'shifo ha'elyon below shum shlita shel mazel chitoni, and it's its upper influence without any control of some external mazel. ועל כן אין מקום קפידה לכל הדברים שבאים מצד זהירות של סגולות כאלה שיש לתלוסה בעניינים של mazel וכיוצא בו. Things like the things that mentioned in the Tzavos Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, which seem to be from the world of mystical kochos and those kinds of things. In Eretz Yisrael, those aren't issues. Very, very fascinating. That's a very, I think, important. I mean, you should not catch a deer for the chuppah, which I assume is the chuppah suda. Kitzvi lechuppah tzarei yagid. That's going to be a simon, a simon ra, and he quotes the Gemara Sanhedrin Samaches. And the footnotes discuss why these things aren't included in prohibitions against things that are nichush and the like. But so that's okay. So that's the first thing that I wanted to bring is that when it comes to these things in Savas Rabbi Yehuda Chassid that are connected with bad mazel or negative spiritual kochos or skulas, Eretz Yisrael, where there's direct hashgacha, so they're not a concern. Okay, so step number one was he brought the standard things that are in the poskim of changing the names and those kinds of things. But the second thing is Eretz Yisrael special. Here comes the third thing. ועוד יש לומר בזמן הזה, ובייחוד בארץ ישראל, שענייני השידוכים קשים הם בעוונותינו הרבים. Nowadays, when things about shidduchim are difficult, especially in Eretz Yisrael, which I assume was because the population of Eretz Yisrael was extremely limited, and in the religious world, the population was extremely, extremely limited. ובפרט שיתאימו גם כן בענייני הדס והיהדות, that the couple should be a match with regards to religion and Judaism, יש לדון שלא לחוש לעניינים שאינם על פי יסוד הדין הגמור מדין קל וחומר. He's going to explain why. So things that aren't mitzad adin in nowadays, when there's issues with shidduchim, you shouldn't be makbid on them. She'inyan, and what's the kal v'chomer? Shebe'inyan mitzvah shelo yikadesh bito she'iktana. You shouldn't be makadesh your daughter when she's a child. Why? You want to wait to make sure that she likes the guy. Amavur be'avena ezer simin lamed zayin sivchet shekosev b'hagad denogim lahaka bazeh b'zman hazeh mipnei adochak she'ein motzin tamid zivug hagun. So in the Ramah's time, they were lenient about this, about mikadosh children. Why? Because there was such a lachatz about shidduchim that if you found a match, so you took advantage of the situation, and there was a window of opportunity for the two couples to make a match between these and between the children, the youth. So we did allow for being makadesh bito kishiktana. So they were lenient about that, says the Rambam. V'kosegin, because you don't always find a zivug hagun. So says the v'kosegin binyanim she'en lem koach min adin. That's certainly the case in things that aren't part of the din. That's a din. That's something that's in the Gemara and that's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. But the tzavas Rabbi Yehuda Chassid isn't mitzad adin. So he says, "She'efshar levatel shidduch shehu hagun mitzdadim rabim mipnei kped hazo." You shouldn't cancel a shidduch which is proper because of a number of different reasons, because of this particular kped. Well, everything's the name of the mother. He's fitting for her, she's fitting for him. They're wonderful, they like each other. But the names of the mother-in-law and the kala are the same, so therefore we're going to cancel the shidduch. So he says, in a situation like in our days when shidduchim are not so simple, so that shouldn't be we shouldn't be makbid about that. The same way that the Ramah was not makbid because of shidduch issues in the din of lo yikadesh adam espito kishiktana, which is something that is mitzad adin, and it's in the din, it's in the Gemara. And certainly here sheyesh b'zeh kol kach harbe tzdadim lahakev v'lomar de lo kapdina b'hadei klal. Number one, if you're not makbid, so then maybe it's not an issue at all. Number two, like change the name, etc. Now, ובייחוד אם יש חשש שאם יבוטל שידוך זה, שיהיה אחד מהצדדים עלול להיכשל בשידוך שלא יהיה שם כוח ההדרכה בענייני שמירת התורה והמצוות. If this shidduch is canceled, so maybe the person will end up marrying somebody where they're not going to have, they're not going to be living a Torah life. שבוודאי אין שום מקום להקפיד בקירות ציבור. Certainly there's no reason to be makbid on that. ולא אמרו כלל רבותינו המחמירים בזה. Al ofen kazeh sheyesh bo afilu chashash rechoka shel ikra shel Torah. They never would have been machmir on this kind of thing when it would go against, when being particular about this thing would open the person up to a shidduch that would be bechlal, not following a Torah lifestyle. Now, furthermore, it goes even further. Uviyichud kishiyesh bein hamedubarim netiya v'chefetz nafshi. When the two people are attracted to each other and they want to get married, שיש לומר שכל העניין של המשמעת בדברים כאלו מפני כבודם של רבותינו שחשו לזה. The whole issue here, he says, there's a way of looking at this whole thing. Now, this is going to be a creative thinking. There's a way of looking at this whole thing as, again, it was the tzava of Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. We don't really understand it, even though there are explanations that are suggested. Maybe it's a shasharayas if somebody might mistake his mother for his wife, God forbid. The so there are issues that, and there might be mystical issues that have to do with it. But at the end of the day, Rabbi Yehuda Chassid knew what he was talking about, and the kavod of Rabbi Yehuda Chassid is to be choshesh for the things that he was suggesting to be particular about. So, okay. יש לזה מקום רק בשעה שמצד הזוג אין חפץ מיוחד דווקא לשידוך זה. So when the couple is like they don't know each other. There's a name on paper. There's a shidduch resume here, a shidduch resume there, and he sees and he sees that the suggestion is a girl with the name of his mother. So there's no the person. It's a davar shelo ba'olam. The person doesn't. They don't know each other even. They never met. They're just deciding, should I go in and meet this person? So no, just like if a shadchan would be making matches in the in Krakow in the early 1900s. So would be looking at the names and say, here's a Sarah. The mother's name is Sarah, and there's no particular connectors. They're just it's just a list of names. So then there's no special desire to marry this person. Aval bisman sheyesh lem chayfetz miyuchad lezeh, when there's a special desire to marry this person, the couple met at a Shabbos table. They were in the process of becoming religious. Nobody, in the outreach program in the shul in Manhattan that they go to, nobody mentioned anything about Savas Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. And they didn't read about it in any of the things that they were exposed to. And they're going out very seriously, and they're starting to think about marriage. And then somebody says, what's your name? What's your mother's name? No, I don't know. Wait a second. Savas Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, break off the shidduch. The couple finally, he finally met somebody, she finally met somebody. They like each other. בזמן שיש להם חפץ מיוחד לזה, הלא קיימלן דלגבי כיבוד אב ואם שהוא מהתורה, honoring parents is a biblical level mitzvah. אם האב מוחה להבן לישא אישה שיחפוץ בה, if the father objects to the wife that he wants to marry, he wants to marry Sprinza. And Sprinza is the father says, no, our ancestors didn't get along with Sprinza's grandparents in Europe. I'm not into this. No, God forbid. Or Sprinza's from a poor family. And the father and the husband, the guy says, I'm a multimillionaire. Who cares if her father's from a No, we won't marry some lower class people. So the father has things that aren't la'inyan. So the father objects. So, or let's say the father just arbitrarily says, no, I don't want you to marry her. So ain't tzorich lishma alav. He doesn't have to listen to the father. He wants to marry somebody that al pi halacha and al pi musar and al pi hashkafa, everything is a great match. He's, what are the issues? Will they be able to have shalom bayis? Will they be able to serve Hashem together? And are they attracted to each other? So this couple, they're attracted to each other. They're religiously, spiritually compatible, and they get along well. Givaldic. But the father objects. So they can ignore the father. And that's what the Shulchan Aruch says in Yoreh De'asim and Reish Mem, Siv Kav Hey in the Haga, B'Shem Maharik, based on the Maharik. V'chal v'chomer benid kal v'chomer benidon didan sheyesh b'zet stadim lahakel. So certainly in our case, where, like he said, it's the kavod of Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, it's the kavod of the people that were choshesh lozeh that is stopping us from marrying somebody who we don't know there's any we don't know the relevance of uh the mother and the wife having the same name, but Rabbi Yehuda Chassid knew, and because of Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, so we're machmer not to marry such a person. But if the couple is interested in getting married to each other, well, if it overrides kibbud av v'em, which is a doraisa, certainly it overrides this tzavas Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, which is not a doraisa, not a drabanan, and not only that, there are reasons to be lenient. Bechlal, it's a low level uh, um, uh, it's not even necessarily a custom, meaning some of the things is, there are those that, there's all sorts of discussions in the footnotes there about the Tzavas Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. Maybe it was for the family, not unclear. So, Shalom Rabboseinu Zal Shanu Chayavim B'chvodam Al Kiyotze Baseh. Our rabbis didn't say we're chayav to honor them in a situation like this, where it would go against a good match otherwise. Shebavadai mechili gemara yesh bazeh mitzidam al kvodam agadol. Certainly, they are mochel on their kavod bishvil takonas bnei banos Yisrael, for the sake of the uh, rectification, the fixing up the problems of the daughters and the sons of Israel. In other words, in order to have a good match come up. Like we say similarly, ligabe kvod abrios, begemara de brachos daf yud testament base. Kumoshe kasuv Rashi, the chachamim machlu likrayu. The chachamim were mochel on their kavod. Viv shabi suri derabanan mamish, when it comes to really suing derabanan afilu bekalim shabahem. Chamurim divrei sofrim, yoser midivrei Torah. We're very, very particular about dinim derabanan, and in some ways, there is a certain side of them that is even more stringent than divrei Torah. V'kofin aleim bechol minei kfiyah kedivin Torah. And we when the legal system is functioning as normal, and we're in an autonomous context, and we're able to, so we would force to keep dinim derabanan. When it comes to worries like this, there's so many sides of being lenient. And certainly, by the way, if when you can simply add a name or change a name, Vaday mandalo kapid lo kapdinale bahari klal klal. Somebody who's not particular about this, somebody, again, we don't understand what the issue is, and somebody who's not worried about it, so it's not going to cause problems. V'adavar talui beratzon amadubarim lekarev v'chalila lisarev limchos b'hem klal klal. Everything is dependent on the. Again, it sounds like there was more to the letter that he didn't share in the very opening. It sounds like the couple got to know each other and they were interested in getting married, and then the whole problem came up. Wait a second, what about the wife's name and the mother's name? So when they themselves are interested in getting married, God forbid to get involved, get into to interfere and to stop them from getting married. They should be zocha to have a very happy and fortunate life with Torah and mitzvahs, l'orach yomim tovim, long years, v'yu litiferes be'eretz chayim b'kol tuvsela, and they should be as splendor and glory in the land of life, which I think he means is Eretz Yisrael, for all good things forever. So that's Rav Kook's tshuva. So to summarize it, number one, there are built-in kulas to this: changing the name, adding a name. Somebody who's not makpid is is not subject to the any negative things that might come about it. And that's the classic, that's what you'll find in the footnotes of Rabbi Yehuda Chassid's of the Sefer Chassidim of Rav Reuven Margolius's issues, who quotes tshuva after tshuva after tshuva after tshuva, all these responsa that deal with leniencies on this particular thing. Again, not to ignore it, not to just dismiss it, because it is not. It was one of the things that was affirmed by the Arizal, and it's one of the things that does have an issue of what's going to happen. And Rabbi Yehuda Chassid is one of the great Balei Tosfos, um, one of the Chasidei Ashkenaz. So it's not something we dismiss on the one hand. On the other end, there are legitimate kulas that are built into the. Even Rabbi Yehuda Chassid himself talks about adding or changing a name. Okay, but then Rav Kook says something that is uh, that I did not see elsewhere, and that is in Eretz Yisrael, where there's direct hashgacha, these things that have to do with problems of bad mazel or skulas or those kind of things, we were not makbid on them. A case in point is which part of the month that you get married. That in Eretz Yisrael apparently it wasn't, even then, was not considered an issue. Um, uh, then nowadays, when there's issues of shidduchim, especially in Eretz Yisrael, where the religious settlement, uh, the young people of the religious settlement was very relatively small. There were a lot of, and there were a lot of pioneers. Again, this is 1930. So then we should not be, he says, makbid on things that aren't mitzad adin, because we want people to be able to get married. And certainly that's the case if there's a worry that the person might end up not marrying somebody and living in a Torah framework. So that would be a case of really messed up priorities. Um, there's a story that is attributed to the Kotzker Rebbe that uh, somebody was being made fun of by his friends, and they were calling him a frummer, a frummer. So he went to the Kotzker Rebbe and he said, they're making fun of me and they're calling me a frummer, but doesn't frum mean religious? So what's so terrible about being religious? So he says, here's what they mean. When they say frummer, they mean somebody who makes the ikr tafel and the tafel ikr. The main things he makes secondary, and the second things he makes main. I once had occasion to be involved with a wedding uh, in the former Soviet Union, and the person told me, uh, we've got the lines of we've got the candles, and so it was like the scene of the wedding that was uh, uh, that was important in his eyes was you have the candles, and there's all these lines of candles that the couple's going to walk through. Um, so the main thing is the kiddushin and the kosher edim and the ring so that's a case where but a lot of times we get into the issues of making the secondary things important and making the important things secondary. So here, when you think of the grand issue, which is a couple getting married and living a Torah life, and and the other side is canceling such a shidduch because it doesn't fit into the tzavos Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. So Rav Kook is saying that would be an example of getting the priorities mixed up. Uh, Third thing he says is that the whole setup of not having a zivug where the wife and the mother have the same name, well, that's in a situation when you're starting out without any attraction, without any connection between the guy and the girl. And then the question is, which kind of people should I look for? So you just naturally avoid people with the same name as the mother. That's simple. Uh, But here we're talking about a couple that met. They developed a relationship. They want to get married, and then, wait a second, the father, the mother's name, and the Kala have the same name. So that's a different thing. That's a different kind of a situation. Now he has um, a couple halachic, a couple pieces of halachic reasoning where he says, number one, just like if there's somebody you want to marry, it's doche kibud aveim. Well, certainly it'll be doche the kavod of the people that were Choshe Shvir, the kavod of Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, which is they certainly would forgive any kavod that they have of us uh, following that tzava. Um, no, the other issue, by the way, I think Ariel is the father and the father-in-law and the chassan, similar kind of a thing. So, and then finally he says, just like we're lenient about the Ramah says we're lenient nowadays about uh, making a shidduch for a child, be Mekadesh, somebody who's kshiktana, Mekadesh is pito kshiktana, because of worries about finding a shidduch hagun. So, and that's something that's in the Gemara, and that's a din d'Rabbanan. So certainly we should be lenient here. Anyways, that's the piece about Rav Kook. Again, as I mentioned before, I was especially noticed the part about the special nature of Eretz Yisrael. And I thought it's an important tshuva to add to the discussion of the Tzavos Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, which is a very, if you see the footnotes of Rabbi Margolius's issue there on Kaf Gimel in the Tzavos Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, there's a very, very long literature on this topic. That is what I wanted uh, to share with you today about this topic.